above a certain threshold, and foreign investments are capped and will need regulatory approvals for higher limits. So can India make the rupee a fully convertible currency? It is aspirational, but it comes with a lot of risks, and high volatility is one of them. Without regulatory scrutiny, the rupee will be subject to extreme volatility, which is not ideal for a developing economy. And why is that? Well, if the rupee's value weakens against the dollar, many import businesses will be hit because of the extra payout from the currency losses. Extreme currency moves weigh on investors and sentiments, which in turn would hurt the economy. While businesses will be able to raise foreign borrowings, a convertible rupee puts them at risk of high repayments. A worst-case scenario will be a debt trap. Balance of trade and exports can take a hit. And more importantly, is the country ready? There is growing international interest in the Indian rupee. India is the fastest growing major economy in the world. So Prime Minister Modi's plan to make India a truly global economy will need a fully convertible rupee as an important step in that direction. And it will signal India as a stable and mature market. A global rupee will increase liquidity in the financial markets. It will bring improved employment and business opportunities. A convertible rupee will give businesses easy access to foreign capital and open up the doors for global players. India can see broad-based progress in multiple industries and sectors. However, there are risks. There have been regular economic challenges at the global level. A global currency will make it difficult for India to be a shining star if the global backdrop becomes gloomy. The risks to economic growth from external factors will become more pronounced. And currently, with the rupee not fully convertible, the country has managed its robust growth rate despite a weak global backdrop. India is largely an import-driven country, even as exports have surged in recent years. So the trade deficit is a common theme, which makes it difficult to make the rupee a global currency. If the rupee is allowed to become fully convertible, the RBI will lose its control of the currency and will need to use other methods to intervene. Broadly, India is not fully ready to make the rupee fully convertible at the moment. I have a question for you. What do you think people do when they cannot control what's happening at home? Or what do they do when they realize that things have gone out of control? They tend to blame others. This is the simplest explanation for what Pakistan is up to. Its home is a mess. Between terror, bankruptcy, and political instability, there is very little that is left. So Pakistan has conveniently turned around and pointed the finger at India. It has cooked up a spy war story. In an interview to a British news outlet, officials of the ISI, Inter-Services Intelligence, have claimed that India is killing terrorists on Pakistani soil. They claim there have been 20 killings in Pakistan since 2020. They have a similar pattern, that they've all been carried out by unknown gunmen. Also, ISI claims these people were shot at close range, again by unknown gunmen. Just tell me one thing now. How do you know it's India if the gunmen remain unknown? And this is just the tip of the iceberg of absurdity that this narrative really is. Whoever from the ISI spoke to the British news outlet claimed that Indian agents were paying poor Pakistanis to kill terrorists at home, also convincing them, the poor Pakistanis, that they will be doing a greater good by killing quote-unquote infidels. The question is it that easy? Are Indian agents part-time hypnotherapists? Well, dear ISI, this is not how Indian intelligence works. This is not how the Indian government works. And Pakistan, of all the countries, should have known this. If India wants to go into Pakistan and hit a target or a terror camp, it will do so publicly. You see, it's Pakistan that has a habit of hiding. Hiding Osama bin Laden, hiding other terrorists. One of the cases the ISI mentions, in fact, is Zahid Akhund, an alias for Zahoor Mistry. He is a convicted terrorist. Mistry was involved in the hijacking of the Indian Airlines flight IC-814. The ISI claims Indian raw agents paid Afghan nationals to kill Mistry in Karachi in March 2022. These men then fled across the border. There are so many questions I have at this point as far as this claim is concerned. Let's start with, what was Mistry doing in Karachi to begin with? Planning another hijack, was he? How many anti-India terrorists is Pakistan really hiding? What was Salim Rehmani, who is one of India's most wanted terrorists, doing in Pakistan? What was Hizbul Mujahideen commander Bashir Ahmad Peer doing in Pakistan? What was Jaish-e-Mohammed commander Shahid Latif doing in Pakistan? These people are linked to cross-border terror. The ISI claims Indian agents got them all. What if it was the ISI? Because why not? Pakistan is finally starting to realize that harboring terrorists is not a good idea, that they eventually turn against the masters. Pakistanis, you see, are paying the price today. Terror-related deaths in Pakistan have hit a 6-year high. In 2023, there were 641 terror attacks in Pakistan. There were over 100 counter-terror operations in Pakistan. The total fatalities, 1,524. It's a desperate condition. So much so that Pakistanis are conducting airstrikes in Afghanistan. It is blaming Afghanistan for cross-border terror. It has removed Afghans from its soil in an attempt to get Kabul to say something on Pakistan's homegrown terror. And when nothing helped, Pakistan is now trying to peg it on India. Quite convenient, right? Now, it's an easy story to sell. Who is killing anti-India terrorists in Pakistan if not India? Well, here's something to think about. What if someone from within the Pakistan establishment decided to knock off homegrown elements? You see, Pakistan wants a clean image. It has the eyes of the Financial Task Force, FATF, on it. Pakistan needs IMF bailout. It helps Pakistan if terror activities at home are reduced. But then how do you do that? Get to these terrorists. Of course, not everyone will be kept in the loop. It's Pakistan, after all, where a lot is smokes and mirrors, with those holding symbolic offices in Islamabad knowing very little. Who is sending anthrax to Pakistani judges? They don't know. They can't control. Who is killing Pakistani terrorists? They don't know. They can't afford to control and cannot dare to question the narrative being sold from Rawalpindi. But we can do that. We can expose Pakistani propaganda. We can question Pakistan's narrative of convenience. Has Pakistan found a new country to blame for its homebred terror? Is India really responsible for terror activities in Pakistan, or is it Pakistan? Tell me, was it India that created the TTP? Was it India that vouched for the Taliban and promoted the so-called peace talks? Did India orchestrate the abuse of the people of Balochistan? Did India pave the way for Chinese abuse of Baloch resources? Was it India that was bankrolling terrorists? Today, Pakistan is reaping what it sowed. There is no better way to put this. Pakistan's actions, its terror funding, terror safeguarding, full-fledged and unapologetic promotion of terror has boomeranged. Its pursuit of strategic depth in Afghanistan has backfired. Its petting of terror groups has come back to haunt Pakistan. The ISI's support of non-state actors has flopped. It's as simple as that. It's too late now to cry foul. It's too late to blame others for the security nightmare that is Pakistan. No one is buying the propaganda of a failed state. Planted reports in British media that is anyway on a lookout for a chance to hide Britain's gloom by pointing the finger at a past colony that is faring far better than the former colonizer will not help either. India is calling a spade. It has exposed Pakistan by calling the assassination allegations, quote-unquote, false and malicious anti-India propaganda, because that is what it is. Let me now tell you about some of the other stories that we have lined up for you on the show tonight. Is China behind the anti-India campaign in Bangladesh? We get you all the details. 8-year-old Kashmiri girl Hurmat Eshad is going viral after videos of her batting were applauded by cricket legends Sachin Tendulkar and also Mithali Raj. We caught up with the young sports star at Supur. We also spoke to another young genius, an 8th grader from India who has just set a Guinness World Record in mental math. Also on the show, a 20-year-old Chinese man has been diagnosed with delusional love disorder. He thinks all the girls in the school like him. You heard that right. We tell you what this is all about. It's an extremely interesting Friday lineup for you, so stay tuned. Are we staring at an end of the Abraham Accords? I asked that question because 3 years after Israel, the UAE and the US shook hands and agreed to normalize Arab-Israeli ties, peace in West Asia feels like a pipe dream. In fact, 3 years ago when the Accords were signed, the sands were shifting. The Accords set the stage for relations between Israel and the Arab world to emerge and flourish. And there were some major gains. Israel and the UAE signed a free trade agreement. They signed pacts in an array of areas, including medicine, bilateral investment, and space travel. Emirati Foreign Minister Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan even visited Jerusalem in the year 2022. At a symbolic level as well, the picture of bin Zayed laying a wreath at Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center, was a historic moment. And then a summit in Israel brought together the foreign ministers from the UAE, Bahrain, Egypt, Morocco, and the United States. Even Turkey improved ties with Israel in the wake of the Accords. It showed how much Israel's strategic position had actually improved. Now today, all the work and progress stands to be wiped out. As the Gaza war continues, Israel faces global isolation. Its closest ally and one of the biggest proponents of the Abraham Accords, the US, too does not know what to do with Israel. US President Joe Biden has issued an ultimatum to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu: protect the civilians or we stop support. And what's more, after months of criticizing Israel over the Gaza assault, the UAE is also reportedly cutting ties with Israel. According to multiple reports, Abu Dhabi has decided to halt all bilateral coordination with Israel on moving humanitarian aid. The UAE is taking a stand. The question is, will other Arab countries follow? Only a few years ago, the US had achieved a big foreign policy achievement. It got the Arab countries and Israel to sign the Abraham Accords. It was signed at the White House in the year 2020. It marked a significant shift in the geopolitical landscape of West Asia. The primary countries involved in the Accords included Israel, the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, Morocco. The signing of the Accords was significant because it would establish full diplomatic ties between Israel and the rest of the signatories. It was supposed to end Israel's isolation in the Arab world. It was supposed to improve Israel's relations with its neighbors. It was supposed to help cement Israel's place as a regional heavyweight. But you see, the Accords ignored the elephant in the room: Palestine. And 3 years later, no one can ignore the elephant in the room. For decades, the US has pushed a two-state solution to the conflict, but has not formally recognized an independent Palestinian state. And now the US has started talking about offering a pathway to a Palestinian state as the best way to stabilize the wider region and isolate Iran and its proxies. And it's worth mentioning here that before the war, even Saudi Arabia was on the cusp of advancing normalization talks with Israel. As recently as in September 2023, in fact, the Crown Prince and the Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, was talking about reaching a normalization deal with Israel. But it's important to note, the Saudi Prime Minister was never half-hearted in his endorsement of an independent Palestinian state. The demand for a Palestinian state was and remains Saudi Arabia's official position as a condition for normalizing ties with Israel. Even the US President Joe Biden touted Saudi Arabia's support for the Abraham Accords as a major foreign policy accomplishment for Washington. But October 7, 2023 changed all of that. The Gaza war forced Saudi Arabia to take a step back. Even the US, which in the first few months of the Gaza war gave Israel all its support, has now changed its position. After 6 months of the war, Israel under Benjamin Netanyahu stands completely isolated. Not even his staunchest ally has his back anymore. Israel's current assault in Gaza is unprecedented. Just look at the condition of Gaza. The pictures on your screen will tell you the complete story. Civilians in Gaza have been rendered homeless, on the streets, starving, suffering, and grieving. More than 33,000 Palestinians have died, according to the health ministry in Gaza, of which most were women and children. As the world remains shocked at what's happening in Gaza, Biden issued an ultimatum to Netanyahu on Thursday. He told Israel basically to protect Palestinian civilians and the foreign aid workers in Gaza, or Washington will be forced to rein in support for Israel. And this ultimatum from America is new. For months, they have asked Israel to change its military tactics, but after an Israeli attack on Monday killed 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers, Washington was forced to threaten Israel.
What we want to see are some real changes on the Israeli side. If we don't see changes from their side, there'll have to be changes from our side. But I won't preview what that could look like now.
Now, the White House has not said what it will do if Israel fails, but analysts told news agency Reuters that this is as close to a come-to-Jesus moment as you can get. Will this be a turning point in the West Asia conflict, is the question. Shifting focus now to Bangladesh. Is China driving an anti-India campaign in Bangladesh? I ask that because a so-called India Out campaign is simmering in Bangladesh, mirroring, by the way, the similar campaign in the Maldives. For a little while now, social media in Bangladesh has been replete with the India Out campaign calling for the boycott of Indian products with similar hashtags. It followed the country's general election in January, which saw the Awami League return to power for a 4th straight term. It sparked the opposition-led campaign calling for the boycott of Indian goods. Although it first simmered on the fringes, it has provoked reaction from the Awami League leaders. It even prompted a reaction from the Bangladeshi Prime Minister. She came down heavily on the opposition leaders, as well as the social media handles, for inflaming anti-India sentiments in the country. While addressing a gathering, she threw a direct question at the opposition's leaders She basically asked, how many Indian saris do their wives have? Then she told them to set their wives' saris on fire. The Bangladeshi Prime Minister's remarks were directed at the leaders of the Bangladeshi Nationalist Party leaders. She then slammed the India baiters by asking them to boycott Indian spices as well. She said, and I'm quoting, garam masala, onions, garlic, all spices that come from India should also not be seen in the kitchens of BNP leaders. Hasina's comment came after a BNP leader, Rahul Kabir Rizvi, threw his Kashmiri shawl on the road, calling for protest against Indian products. Although most people have so far been skeptical about the seriousness of this anti-India campaign in Bangladesh, notice the similarities between what's going on in Bangladesh and what happened in the Maldives. Traditionally, both these countries have been closest to India. While the Maldives and India have had close strategic ties, Bangladesh and India have both historical as well as cultural ties. The Maldivian election season last year was dominated by the topic of India. And its current president, Mohammad Moizu, came to power riding on the India Out campaign, carefully orchestrated by China. After coming to power, Moizu's first order of business was to travel to China and meet its president, Xi Jinping. It was a departure from tradition, as the Maldivian president usually made ties with India the top priority. And soon after, Moizu asked India to remove its small number of troops from the island nation while seeking closer ties with China. Still, despite the current politics, India remains a force for good. Moizu's anti-India policies have not deterred New Delhi from coming to the aid of the Maldivians. India has allowed limited exports of essential commodities like sugar, rice, onions to the Maldives, even as ties between Male and New Delhi are tense amid rising Chinese influence. In Bangladesh, though, things have not gone that south. It can't. Well, first of all, the India Out campaign in Bangladesh is being propagated by the low-rung leaders of the opposition parties. And what's more, contrary to the expectations of those fueling the anti-India sentiment, this campaign has failed to find wide acceptance in Bangladesh. And those fueling this hate hoped that the movement would snowball into something major, as it did in the Maldives. But while in the Maldives, the campaign was more potent because it was state-sponsored and state-orchestrated, in Bangladesh, the campaign was bound to have limited success. Still, one can appreciate the similarities between the campaign in the Maldives and the one in Bangladesh. Just like the Maldives, local politicians were used to propagate anti-India sentiments. Of course, it wasn't practical because of the reasons I have told you about, but they tried nonetheless. You see, China has been investing heavily in Bangladesh's sectors like shipping, railways, highways, power projects. In recent years, in fact, China's footprint in Bangladesh has grown significantly. In 2016, Bangladesh joined China's Belt and Road Initiative. The $1.2 billion six-slot China-built submarine base named BNS Sheikh Hasina, which is located near Cox's Bazar, could also have security implications for Indian naval bases nearby. Although Sheikh Hasina's government has repeatedly told India not to worry, as China is Bangladesh's economic partner only and not a security partner, still, just imagine the opportunities that would open up for China if Bangladesh went the Maldives' way. It cannot be discounted. But if the anti-India plotters really believe they can carry out a repeat of the Maldives in Bangladesh, they would be greatly mistaken. As it stands today, Bangladesh is heavily dependent on India. In the year 2022, Bangladesh's imports from India were worth $16.16 billion. Dhaka relies heavily on India for essentials like food, fuel, fertilizer, industrial, raw materials. In fact, a close economic partnership with India is one of the factors behind Bangladesh's prosperity. The proximity means trade advantage. Shared land borders as well-established transportation links facilitate the movement of goods, often at lower costs as compared to imports from more distant locations like China. And because of these reasons, Dhaka cannot afford to sever trade ties with New Delhi. She's just 8, but the internet and cricket superstars are in love with her. North Kashmir's Hurmat Irshad is going viral after videos of her batting earned her plaudits from cricket great Sachin Tendulkar and former Indian women's captain Mithali Raj. Idris Lone with this delightful story. Take a look.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's massive. Oh, that's a really good shot. Oh, that's brilliant.
Just look at that poise. That bat comes down gracefully and the timing is just perfect. No, we aren't talking of a superstar from the ongoing IPL. Meet Hurmat Irshad, a class 3 student with dreams and aspirations like millions of cricketers. Just a handful of those players catch the eye of scouts, but this precocious child has earned the approval of Sachin Tendulkar. This is what he wrote on social media after seeing her videos. Always good to see young girls playing cricket. Watching videos like these brings a smile to my face.
I have been playing cricket for the last 3 years. I play with boys and I like it a lot. It was my grandfather who taught me how to play. My video has gone viral and I want to be a cricketer and make my country proud.
Like most girls her age, Hurmat goes to school. It's her cricketing skills that have made her the star of a small village in the Sopore area of Baramulla. She's a natural. Her favourite shot is the cover drive. And she practices for hours every day trying to emulate her idol, Virat Kohli. Her newfound status as the most popular student at the Prime Public School has also yielded benefits. The school has given a year's scholarship.
First of all, हमें school level पे ये पता था
It's
कि
a proud moment for the whole Prime Public School and the whole area. We saw her video and we already knew that she is talented. It was after the video we decided that we will do our best to support her love towards cricket. We also decided to give her 1 year scholarship so that she can pursue her dream.
Mithali Raj, the leading run scorer in international women's cricket, is someone Hurmat wants to be like, and Raj has been suitably impressed as well. This is what she wrote on social media. Delighted to see this girl's talent, passion and determination for cricket at such a young age. Keep going strong, Hurmat. India loves its cricket and the domestic structure ensures merit is always recognized. Kashmiri cricketers Parvez Rasool and Umran Malik have played for India's cricket team. Abdul Samad, Rasik Salamdar and Abid Mushtaq are part of the ongoing IPL. Hurmat's dreams of representing her country is no wishful thinking, but remember, she's just 8 and has a long way to go.
8-year-old Hurmat Irshad from North Kashmir's Sopore area has stormed the internet with her cricket playing videos. Her videos have been shared by cricketing legends like Sachin Tendulkar and Mithali Raj. And now Hurmat's dream is to play for the Indian women's cricket team and represent the country at international level. With video journalist Firoz, Idris Lone for WION World is One.
It is now time to make you meet someone very special, a young genius, another one, a prodigy, a human calculator. I am talking about Aryan Shukla. He has set a Guinness World Record for mental math calculation, and do you know how old he is? Only 13 years old. He is in the 8th grade. Imagine that, a world record at such a young age. You know what? He created a Guinness World Record. What for? The fastest time to mentally add 50 5-digit numbers. And you know how long he took to do that? Just seconds. The 13-year-old achieved the record in a mere 25.19 seconds. Can you believe that? How terrific, right? This was on the Italian TV show. Lo showed their record in Milan. He has made India proud with his exceptional skills. And by the way, he is also one of the founding board members of the Global Mental Calculators Association, which focuses on mental maths calculation. All this at just the age of 13. And that is just a part of his long list of achievements. Tonight, we have him on the show to know more about his journey. Let's go straight across to Aryan Shukla. Hi, Aryan. So good to have you with us. Now, you are a Guinness World Record holder at such a young age. You won the title of the world champion at the Mental Calculation World Cup held in Germany. And you represented India among the top 40 human calculators from 20 countries worldwide. Let me ask you this. How does it feel to be representing your country at such a young age and achieving this feat?
I feel very proud when I represent India at various stages to be sitting with our Indian flag. And I also feel proud when our India wins.
You are, of course, a maths genius. You get along very well with numbers and mathematics. What would you like to say to those who are scared of mathematics, perhaps, but are interested in maths?
I would try to say to the people who are interested in mathematics that start doing early and never be feared of numbers, and give some time and try and for the result to come and practice a lot.
That's brilliant. Let me also ask you, how does your ability to calculate this fast help you in your day-to-day activities? You have been called a human calculator.
So it helps me in in lots of things. It helps me to process data. For example, whenever I go to supermarket or groceries or anywhere, so I could calculate the things or the bill, anything. And also it helps in many things.
What does your daily routine look like, Aryan? Do you practice mental mathematics every day? Some people might also wonder when they learn about your skills and your story, does he eat something special? So tell us more about what a usual day looks like for you and what all is a part of it.
Generally, I practice mental maths for about 2 hours or 3 hours. Means whenever, in a normal situation, but whenever a competition or a show, I usually practice for more hours. Means, And my daily routine is means I go to school, and after school I do mental maths and some traditional mathematics. Yeah.
Now, you have mentally added 55-digit numbers and achieved that record. Can I ask you to give me the total of maybe five-digit numbers? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, so let me just throw those numbers at you. 10945 76934 93563 44924 65367. What's the total of these numbers?
So the answer is 291733.
Wow, and that is correct, and you've done that in just seconds. How quick and how inspiring and brilliant. What tips would you have for others that can help them calculate faster, perhaps?
So my tips to them are when if you want to calculate mental maths, grow your speed. So practice a lot and give some time to whatever you're doing, and slowly the results will start to come.
And don't be afraid of numbers, like you said at the outset. Thanks very much for being here, Aryan Shukla. You are an inspiration, and congratulations once again for that achievement. Our next story is about domestic abuse. Let me ask you this. Do you think it plagues only certain sections of our society, or is directed only against a particular gender, perhaps? According to common perception, the answer perhaps would be yes. But it's not so simple. Domestic abuse has no class or gender. Whether it's the star-studded lives of celebrities or those living in poverty, one cannot rule out domestic abuse simply based on social standing. What makes me say that? The feud between ex-power couple Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. The two split up back in 2016. You might already know about their infamous Blaine altercation or the legal battle over their shared French winery. If not, let me tell you about this in just a bit. But first, let me tell you that Angelina Jolie has leveled fresh allegations against Brad Pitt. Jolie claims that Brad Pitt has a history of physical abuse and that this started well before the family's September 2016 plane trip from France to Los Angeles. She hasn't disclosed any further details, but one can sense that there is more to the story here. The reason this is even coming up right now is because Angelina's lawyers have filed a motion in the ongoing winery case. The legal fight has grown even uglier with these revelations. You see, Jolie and Pitt owned a rose winery together. It's called the Chateau Miraval. The sprawling villa is nestled in the French commune of Correns. The couple signed a long-term lease on the property back in the year 2008. And that same year, they also bought a controlling stake in the south of France vineyard in 2008. Now, Pitt alleges that both had agreed that neither would sell their share in the winery till the other person approved. But according to him, Jolie breached the agreement and went ahead to sell her stake, that too reportedly to a Russian oligarch. That's the whole reason Pitt took Jolie to the court. Now, Angelina Jolie has filed a new motion with the Los Angeles Superior Court. She claims that she attempted to sell Pitt her stake in the Miraval winery, but their negotiations ultimately broke down. Why so? According to Jolie, Pitt would only agree to the sale if Jolie signed a non-disclosure agreement. And what was this NDA about? Jolie says it prohibited her from speaking about Pitt's abusive behavior. It's as murky as it can get. The feud is circling around abuse. Jolie has also previously alleged that Pitt was violent towards her and their children aboard a private jet flight in the year 2016, both physically and verbally, she claims, under the influence of alcohol. You see, abuse does not only exist in some households or in some sections of the society. As Jolie claims, it can also occur on board private jets, or for that matter, also in million-dollar mansions behind closed doors. In fact, there have been multiple high-profile cases over the years. You might already know about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, Rihanna and Chris Brown. And then there was an incident involving Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Dwayne Haskins and his wife, Calabria Gondresik Haskins. Ironically, the two were in a motel to renew their wedding vows. They got into a heated argument, which soon turned violent. Now, maybe you would assume that the husband hit the wife, but that was not the case. Dwayne Haskins' wife, Calabria, allegedly punched him in the mouth, causing him to lose a tooth. Calabria was arrested and faced a felony charge of battery and domestic violence. On similar lines, celebrity chef Kunal Kapoor has also been granted divorce from his estranged wife. Except in this case, the abuse is allegedly not physical but mental. The Delhi High Court has observed that the wife's conduct towards the husband lacked dignity and empathy. Kapoor has claimed that his wife embarrassed him in public and failed to respect his parents. His wife, however, has denied the claims. While there is no denying that a large number of women face domestic violence, we cannot ignore the men who go through the same. Let's look at some figures here. According to the Office for National Statistics, last year, 1.38 million women faced domestic abuse. So did 751,000 men. Out of this, 964,000 women and 483,000 suffered at the hands of their partners. About 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men fell prey to domestic abuse in their lifetime. So forget the gender, forget the social class. Abuse, it seems, is at the end abuse, of course, and nobody should be put through such pain. Gen Z would have you believe that delusion is the solution. This was talked about on social media for months. My advice would be, don't fall for it. Delusion can land you in hot soup, just like what happened to this Chinese 20-year-old. Now, the only difference is apparently he did not choose to be delusional, but was rather stuck with it due to an unusual medical condition. What's this about? Let me tell you a bit more about him first. He goes by his surname Liu. He is a second-year university student at the in Jiangsu province, eastern China. He has been diagnosed with delusional love disorder. Yes, it's a medical ailment, not a made-up thing or social media trend. So what exactly happened to Liu? He started believing that all the girls in his university liked him. Now, it's one thing to be confident, but it's entirely another thing to be convinced that everyone else likes you or is attracted to you. Remember Johnny Bravo from Cartoon Network? Coming back to Liu, he started experiencing the symptoms in February and slowly his condition worsened to the extent that he started showing inappropriately bold displays of love towards his female classmates. It almost did not matter that he received negative responses from all the women he approached. In fact, he took this as a signal that they were just being shy. All the girls in the school like me. That is what Liu told his doctor. He also thought that he is the best looking guy in the university. Liu would remain psyched up about his perceived allure around the clock. He started staying up all night, got easily distracted during class, and spent money recklessly. Liu is now being treated by doctors in a hospital. He is receiving psychotherapy to get over himself and his delusion. No offense, but a lot of other people can probably use it. Now, Chinese doctors have offered a very interesting insight. They say the delusional love disorder is commonly seen in spring between March and April. That is when peach blossoms are in full bloom. During this time, the weather is changeable, causing a fluctuation in people's endocrine levels. To this, an online observer cleverly noted, do human beings also go into heat in the spring? You see, this disorder is unusual, but it's not new. Researchers first described it back in 1921. However, cases of such kind of love have been long known before. Many say it typically affects women. However, most of the reports relate to men with violent behavior, harassing or stalking women. In 2020, a 50-year-old man was referred from court for persistently stalking a woman for the past few years. He was later known to have the delusional love disorder, but he did not believe it. Rather, he thought all of it was a part of a grand scheme to break off his delusional relationship. And later, he showed improvement after being treated with antipsychotics. He would not verbally say anything delusional and would calmly deny any inappropriate behavior. However, his talking tendencies did not completely go away. Researchers have concluded, in fact, that the delusion in affected people never really goes away, but what they can do is learn to better control their behavior. Again, a lot of people can use this piece of advice, perhaps, whether delusional or not. How many of you plan your weekend meals in advance? How many of you plan which restaurant you would like to eat at over the weekend, or the dish you would like to eat or bake? Is crookie part of your weekend plans? What's a crookie, you must be wondering? Well, it is part cookie, part croissant. Basically, croissant filled with cookie dough, or a pastry with severe identity crisis. It was first baked by a bakery in 2022. Crookie was not an instant hit, but fate has something sweet for crookie in store. In early 2023, a social media influencer filmed himself taking a bite of the pastry. More uploads followed, and before you knew it, the Parisian bakery was selling over 2,000 cookies a day. Not just that, they had to hire help. 2 people who can help make them more crookies. It was very stressful, the bakery owner says. Bakeries around the world began making crookies, hoping to draw Insta addicts. And this is not the first experimental pastry to go viral. In 2016, a chef in New York came up with Cronut, a crossbreed of croissant and donut. It sold like hotcakes. And when someone replicated this in London, people started calling in sick at work to go line up outside the bakery. Can you believe that? Some even started queuing at the break of dawn. Have you heard of the kroloff? A croissant baked in a bread tin. That's another concept that went viral. And how can we possibly forget the cruffin, croissant and muffin? It has been quite a hit in India as well. Pretzels or pretzels made with croissant dough were once the star of TikTok, and someone also came up with tacos, taco-shaped croissants. What does all of this tell you? A new take on classic breakfast pastries is always welcome, especially in the age of social media, where experimental foods, recipes, cafe hops are quite a hit. The result? Crookies and croffles. That's a croissant dough pressed in a waffle machine. How many of these have you tried? Share your photos and tag us in your posts. On that note is a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Have a good weekend. Thanks very much for watching.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you